Welcome to Unbelievable Stories. Today's story is full of shocking twists and real drama. Subscribe and like to stay updated. Let's dive in.
I met Samantha in 9th year, began seeing her, and we were very much an established relationship by 10th grade. We had no troubles throughout high school, and, like all cliches, we traded our virginities on the night of the senior prom. We indulged in sex whenever we could. We'd been talking about getting married since 11th grade, and we wanted to wait until we completed college before getting married. College altered Samantha. In high school, our classmates knew that we were a couple, and the boys left Samantha alone, but this did not continue in college. While there were some former classmates from our high school there, the most of the kids were from other locations, and the boys didn't regard Samantha as my girl. They saw her as a desirable female, and she was often approached. I was aware of what was going on, but there was nothing I could do to stop it. We had different majors and courses, so we only saw each other in the evenings after classes and after I got off work. The attention had an impact on Samantha, who became more flirtatious, for want of a better phrase. I noticed her going with other men, smiling and chatting to them, but I was on the opposite side of the quad, and she didn't see me. I took a detour via the student center twice to go from one class to another and spotted Samantha in the cafeteria, once with a guy and once with two of them. It never occurred to me until long later that I never saw her with other females. She was always with men. It never concerned me. We were a couple, correct? We were in love, correct? We were planned to marry, right? So I have nothing to worry about, right? She was a beautiful girl, so she naturally attracted men, but she was mine, and she showed it every night we spent together. 4 years later, we graduated, secured employment in our areas of study, married, and started a happy life together. I was the poster child for big, stupid, and happy for almost 6 years until the balloon burst. It was an accident that caused my harsh awakening. I was sitting at my desk at work when Olivia from the mailroom placed some files on my desk. I grabbed the top one and began browsing through it. I was perplexed as to why it had been directed to me, given that it involved an account that Derek Johnson was in charge of. Derek was a former classmate from high school and college. I was halfway through when I noticed a huge error. A quick calculation in my brain revealed that the forecasts were incorrect by about $2.5 million. I was reaching for my calculator to figure out the precise number when Derek burst into my office and inquired whether I had seen the file. "I've got to make copies of it and be ready to give the Synergy Tech people a presentation in half an hour," stated the worker. "I have the file right here. I'm not sure why I have it. I suppose someone asked me to check it over, so I did. But I don't believe you want to bring this to Provis." I showed him what I'd uncovered, and I believe his face turned white. Oh man, it might have cost me my job. I need to make a fast rework on it. He grabbed the file and raced out. It was a Tuesday, and Samantha usually had to work late on Tuesdays to get payroll ready for the Wednesday payday, so I did my usual and stopped by Oscar's Tavern after work for his half-pound burger and a couple of drinks before going home. I had just completed my burger and was beginning on my second drink when Derek walked in, noticed me, and joined me in my booth. He requested a drink from Linda and instructed her to deliver my bill. "It's the least I can do after you saved my job today." I didn't dispute with him about it since we weren't talking large money, and we sat and spoke about work for a while. Then some "have you seen so-and-so, and have you heard what so-and-so did?" and then Derek flipped my world upside down and inside out. "I have to ask you something, Nathan. It's none of my concern, and I understand that, but you're a wonderful person, and I genuinely like you. I do want to know why you put up with Samantha." "I don't know what you mean, Derek. Why do you let her fool around with you? What the hell are you talking about?" He looked at my face and cursed. "Oh, you didn't know." He tried to get up, but I grabbed him and dragged him back down. "No, Derek. You don't put a bomb like that on me and then get up and go. Sit back down and spill it." He sat down and remarked, "I don't know what to say, Nathan." "Just tell it, Derek. Simply spit it out." "I thought you knew, Nathan. I mean, has it been 10 years? And you don't know?" "My God, Nathan, how could you not know?" "Know what, Derek?" "That Samantha is a round-heeled 3404. I just gazed at him, unable to ask a single question. "I apologize, Nathan. I wish I hadn't spoken. I shook from my mental paralysis and continued, but you did, Derek, and now you must complete it. How did you know, and how long have you known? I've known since our senior year in high school, and I know because I'm one of the many who did her. I was surprised by the news, but I had a desperate desire to know. Start from the beginning, Derek, and don't leave anything out. Please do not leave anything out. The scenario that emerged shocked me not just because of the substance, but also because it had been going on for more than 10 years and I had no idea. No, not even a murmur. 2 weeks after the senior prom, Derek went over to his cousin's home, and as was his routine, he simply strolled in and went straight to Colin's bedroom, where he knew Colin would be on his computer. However, Colin was focused on Samantha rather than the computer. Derek remained there watching them, and they both saw him. Since neither of them shouted at him to get out, he undressed and waited his turn. He and Colin alternated with Samantha until she halted the proceedings. She said she needed to clean up and meet me after I got off work from my part-time job at Brown's Grocery. He and Colin saw her on and off while I was at work, until Colin met and became serious with Erica Bennett. She continued seeing Derek for a few weeks, and when he stopped to visit her, she was already seeing Jason Scott and Kyle Turner, so he joined in. They all took turns with her till she had to stop and meet me. Derek shared her with numerous other people, and she'd been with more than half a dozen males before. We were friends, but not best friends, as you recall when we were 18 and had sex on the brain. You two were going steady, but I didn't believe you were all that serious. I mean, if you were serious, would she be with anybody who made her happy? It didn't alter once we entered college. During her first semester of freshman year, she had courses Monday through Thursday and Tuesday through Friday, but no classes on Wednesdays. Her final class on Monday through Thursday ended at 2 p.m., while her last session on Tuesday through Friday concluded at 1 p.m. I don't recall your timetable, but after you got out of class, you went to work, while Samantha went to a bedroom someplace. Wednesdays were like an all-day rompathon. Nathan, it was like that all the way through school. Class schedules varied from term to term, but one constant was Samantha seeing you after class till you got off work. In making it seem like it happened every day, but it was only 2 or 3 times every week. Most of us males were surprised when you and Samantha married. We knew you had to know what she was doing, yet you married her anyhow. Many of us assumed you were one of those people that took pleasure in your woman's relationships with other men. Jason felt you and Samantha were swingers, but no one ever saw you with another lady, although Samantha was constantly seen with other males. I had no notion, Derek, not even a hint of an idea. Damn, Nathan, I'm sorry to be the one to tip you off. Since you never knew, it stands to reason that you probably don't know that she has a standing Thursday night date with Jordan and Lucas Reyes. The Tuesday you play basketball, she sees Brian Foster. I'm not sure who else she sees and when, but it's a good bet that Samantha is somewhere doing something. Not that it matters much, but I did stop seeing her after you were married. A single lady is one thing, but playing around with a married woman is something different. I didn't know what to say, Derek, or what I was going to do, but I was definitely going to do something. I finished my drink and rose up to leave. I paused and glanced to Derek. Thank you, Derek. Thank you for the burger and drink, and for getting my head out of my ass. As I drove home, I continued to think about what Derek had told me. Did I trust what he said? On the one hand, I answered, no way, Samantha loves me, and she wouldn't do that to me. On the other side, I asked, why would Derek lie to me? I eventually admitted to myself that he wouldn't. He knew I'd investigate what had told me, and if he had lied, how could we continue to work together? The response was that we wouldn't be able to, which Derek knew. It was going to be difficult to work with him knowing about him and Samantha, but we'd get through it since I remembered what it was like to be a youngster with sex on the brain. I know that if another guy's girl had given me sex back then and I didn't have Samantha, I would have accepted it. The true question was, what the hell are you doing now, Nathan? I didn't realize Samantha and I were done. I could have gotten away with a one-night drunken mistake or even a short-term affair if Samantha had convinced me that it would never happen again. But only 3404 for 10 years. No way. I was in bed pretending to be sleeping when Samantha returned home from working on the payroll, and I ignored her when her hand touched me. I refused the woman's offer of sloppy seconds. Admittedly, I had been receiving them for years and it hadn't killed me, but I didn't realize it at the time. I did now, however, and the contact of her hand on my body made my skin crawl, and for the first time in my life, Samantha did not cause me to get an erection. I was up before Samantha in the morning, drinking coffee and reading the morning paper when Samantha came downstairs. "What occurred to you last night?" "I got home hot and eager, but you were already in bed." "That's not like you, Nathan." "Something that I ate didn't agree with me, and I was feeling poorly, so I went to bed early." "Well, I surely hope you feel better today. I'm going to require you to work extra time tonight to compensate for yesterday night." As soon as I got to work, I contacted Patrick Harris. Jeremy was a buddy from high school who was now an attorney practicing corporate law, whatever that was, and I asked him to name a no-holds-barred divorce lawyer. "What does that mean?" "It means that what I'd hoped was true isn't, but you were looking for a divorce lawyer means that what I thought you and Samantha had is not what you and Samantha have, and that you have finally found out about her." "What did you believe we had?" "Somewhat open marriage." "How else could Samantha accomplish what she was doing while still with you?" "I mean, it was apparent to everyone that you were dedicated to her, and how could that be unless you approved of her actions?" "Believe it or not, Jeremy, I first had no clue as to what she was doing until yesterday." Jeremy was quiet for a few seconds before saying, "Give Michael Foster a call and tell him I sent you." I contacted Michael Foster and informed him that Jeremy had suggested him, and he said he could see me that day if I could be there at 1. I assured him I could make it, and I did. Doug informed me that my alternatives ranged from an amiable separation to a scorched earth policy. We were not in a no-fault state, and infidelity was a valid reason for divorce. However, in order to file for divorce on the basis of adultery, I required concrete evidence. Hearsay would not enough. "How do I acquire the proof I need?" I asked. He retrieved a card from his desk and gave it to me. It said Colin Mitchell, private investigator. His office is right across the street. If you like, I can phone him and see if he can fit you in right away. Please do. I want to have this done as quickly as possible. Go ahead and start the divorce process and I'll send you the proof as soon as I obtain it. Doug called, and 5 minutes later, Colin Mitchell was explaining what we needed to accomplish. Unfortunately, one of the things I needed to do was appear absolutely natural in front of Samantha, giving her no reason to believe that I wasn't still the dumb clown she was used to. And, as unpleasant as it may be for you, Mitchell said, it means no changes in your routine. If you have sex 3 or 4 times every week, you must do it. If you are normally the one to start things, you must do it. Remember, you're not making love anymore, you're simply getting your rocks off. Do not do anything that will cause her to alter her routine in any manner. It is crucial to us and what we desire to happen, that she is unaware that your connection has changed. I returned to my office, bit the bullet, and contacted Samantha at work. We had a tradition of going out to dinner every Friday night and breakfast every Sunday morning, so when I called her, I asked if Antonio's was good for dinner, and she responded yes. While I was eating my veal marsala and Samantha was working on her rigatoni and drinking white wine, personnel from Mitchell Investigations were installing wireless cameras and listening devices around the home. As I took a drink of my Merlot, I was going over Mitchell's remarks to me. It is natural to attempt to find the concealed cameras, but you must resist the desire. If she discovers you doing it, all of our efforts may be for nothing. You will also need to push yourself to behave naturally in the bedroom, which will be difficult for you. After dinner, I asked Samantha if she wanted to go for a few drinks and maybe some dancing, but she replied, "No, we need to go home so you can make it up to me for letting me down last night." On the drive home, she scooted over next to me, unzipped my trousers, and said, "Drive carefully, honey. Don't hit anything that could make me bite off your well, you know." In my opinion, what she was doing was nothing unusual for me, but rather what she had done with 100 other guys over the previous 10 years. But, as disgusted as I was with Samantha, human nature kicked in a few minutes later, and my body took control, disregarding the rest. As soon as I pulled into our driveway, Samantha instructed me to hurry up and come to the bedroom. I couldn't take Mitchell's advice, I couldn't behave naturally knowing I may be performing for an audience. So I went to where I was informed the switch was and turned the system off. I left my mobile phone on the vehicle seat, knowing that seeing it on my way out of the home would serve as a reminder to switch the system back on. The following morning, I awoke before Samantha and started the coffee machine. I was reading the morning paper when she walked downstairs. "What occurred to you last night?" "I arrived home feeling lively and you were already in bed." "That's not like you, Nathan." I didn't disclose the transition, of course. I put the cameras back on as soon as Samantha departed for her Saturday hair appointment, despite my belief that nothing would happen during my morning run. The switch just turned off the cameras, the listening devices and phone tap remained functioning. I returned to my office and reviewed the tape from the night before. To my amazement, the system had recorded Samantha making a phone call before she went for her appointment. "Good morning, love. Are we still scheduled for today?" "You bet. My wife brought the kids to the zoo, so we have till 5 tonight. You know I can't stay that long, I need to go home by 2. Nathan is beginning to worry why I'm gone so long on Saturdays." "Well, then skip the hair appointment and get over here sooner." She laughed. "What do I tell Nathan when he wonders why I've been gone for so long and my hair isn't done?" I knew the man's voice, it was my cousin, Evan. By the time I finished listening, I was seething and wondered how many additional relatives she had with her. Samantha returned home about 2 p.m. and described encountering Eleanor, Sophia, and Anna in the salon. It could have been true, but now I mistrust everything she said. The following Monday, I informed Samantha that I would be leaving town on Tuesday on a business trip, stating that I would be gone until Thursday evening and would return in time to take her out to dinner. Of course, there was no excursion, but I planned to catch her at our house as a meeting point. Tuesday morning, she kissed me goodbye and I grabbed my overnight bag and left the home as if on my trip. I went to work, worked for a few hours, then drove to our neighborhood and parked down the street. I used my laptop to view the covert camera's live feeds. Around midday, Samantha called again. "Hello, it's me." "What up?" "Nathan recently departed for a 3-day excursion. Are you ready to spend 3 fun-filled nights with me?" "You know it." "I'll phone Jordan and check if he's there. He'll be home by 6. I turned off the laptop and contacted Doug to tell him we'd have good proof shortly. That night, as planned, 2 males showed up at my residence. Samantha met them at the door and they were quickly led into the bedroom. It was difficult seeing the film, but it corroborated what Derek had told me. Wednesday morning, I saw the 2 guys depart just after daybreak, and I felt this was the evidence I needed. I phoned Doug to inform him that the papers should be ready to serve by Friday morning. I was parked just down the street from the residence on Friday morning, and the 2 guys emerged just on time at 5:55. They turned to say farewell to Samantha, who was standing just inside the door, when they saw the guy with the envelope, who gave her the divorce papers. She was dumbfounded when I pulled up, waved, and drove away without saying anything. I had served a letter that was straightforward and to the point. "I do not want to communicate with you until our lawyers are present. Don't attempt to contact me or explain." We're done. 15 minutes after leaving the home, my phone rang, and it was Samantha. I let it go to voicemail, along with the next 7 calls from her. When I arrived at work, I informed my secretary that I had left Samantha and that any calls from her should be sent elsewhere. As I opened my office door, I had an idea and returned my attention to my secretary, Caroline. "Here's another thing, Caroline. If Samantha comes up, please inform her that I am not available. Inform her that I've gone to see a client or departed early. Just make sure I don't have to see her." Caroline nodded. "I understand. You'll also notify Rachel at the front desk so she can alert you if Samantha comes by." I thanked her and returned to my work. By lunchtime, my phone showed 10 missed calls from Samantha, all of which I ignored. At noon, I contacted my father and brother to inform them of the situation. I requested my father to inform my mother and to please try to dissuade her from becoming involved. Samantha had been like a daughter to her, and I knew my mother would attempt to persuade me to patch things up. My father agreed, but he said it could be difficult for my mother to keep out of it. The remainder of the day was a haze as I attempted to focus on work, but my thoughts kept returning to what Samantha may be thinking or planning right now. Finally, at 5 p.m., Caroline dropped in on her way out. "Nathan, just so you know, your wife phoned 5 more times this afternoon. I informed her each time that you had given instructions not to be bothered, and I believe she received the message because she stopped calling. But if she comes here in person, Rachel and I will handle it. Thank you, Caroline. I appreciate it. She went, and I did some work till 7. When I arrived in the lobby, Rachel had left, and the only person there was Gary, the night security guy. He gave me a knowing grin. Tough day, huh? I nodded. You have no idea, Gary. We're going out the back way tonight to prevent any shocks. Good call, Mr. Daniels. If she comes by, I will tell her you left earlier. He leaned forward, conspiratorially. Divorce is never pleasant. I had to. Remain patient. I thanked Gary, departed via the rear, and made a brief stop at Jimmy's diner across the street. I got some food and took a seat so I could keep an eye on the workplace from a distance. Halfway through my dinner, I saw Samantha drive up to the building and hit the call button. After a short talk with Gary, she got back into her vehicle and drove away. The next day, Saturday, was hectic as I completed everything I should have done before serving Samantha. I went to the bank, wiped out our joint accounts, and withdrew my personal documents from the safe deposit box. I left all of Samantha's belongings in there and hid my wedding ring in the box for her to locate. I stopped for breakfast at Morning Roast Cafe and cancelled our shared credit cards over the phone. By nightfall, ID returned to the accommodation and decided to relax with a few drinks at the pub next door. As fate would have it, Amber and her pals Grace and Taylor were present. Grace's husband returned home from deployment, so it was just Amber and Taylor tonight. Hello, Nathan. Want to join us? When Amber noticed me at the bar, she called over. Sure, I'd love to. I took my drink and sat at their table. Where is Grace? I inquired as I took my seat. She's busy with her husband tonight, Taylor said with a smirk. They have a lot of catching up to do. We spoke, and after a while, Amber leaned over. So, Nathan, where is your ring? The last time we saw you, you were wearing it. I served my wife with divorce papers yesterday, I said, attempting to maintain a calm voice. They both stared at me, surprised and sympathetic. Taylor spoke first. That stinks. I apologize, Nathan. I mean, it must be difficult. Thanks. It's difficult, but it's for the best, I responded, attempting to project confidence. We spent the remainder of the evening chatting, dancing, and laughing, and for the first time in days, I felt a little weight lift off my shoulders. Amber, it turned out, wasn't married, she was simply close friends with Grace and Taylor. It seemed to me that she'd be a wonderful person to get to know more eventually. Sunday was peaceful, and I spent the most of it by the hotel pool with a book, attempting to unwind. On Monday, I took the rental vehicle to work, hoping Samantha would not notice I was back and assume I was still out of town. My strategy seemed to work, and I made it through the day without incident. But on Tuesday, as I left the workplace at the end of the day, Samantha was parked next to my vehicle. When she saw me, she came out and stood by my driver's side door. We need to talk, Nathan. I ignored her and proceeded directly to my vehicle, but she tried to obstruct my path. Come on, Nathan. Let me explain. I shot her a nasty glare and pushed by her, making her stumble as I got into my vehicle. I rolled down the window and said, "You need to go back and read the letter that came with the divorce papers, Samantha. I won't speak to you until our lawyers are there, and even then, he'll only talk about the divorce. We're finished. I don't want a divorce, Nathan. I want you." I shake my head. We are done, Samantha. Accept it since I won't change my opinion. I pulled up the window and drove away, leaving her standing in the parking lot. However, it immediately became clear that Samantha was not going to accept no for an answer. When I left the workplace on Wednesday, 2 males accosted me as I was walking to my vehicle. They were the identical men I'd seen in the camera from my bedroom, the one Samantha had been with. One of them added, "Don't do anything dumb, old guy, you won't be wounded. Miss Samantha says she wants to speak to you, but you're being stubborn, so we're bringing you to her. You're coming with us, whether it's the easy or hard path." I understood these two presumably felt I'd be an easy target, dressed in a professional suit and carrying a briefcase. Part of me wanted to fight back, knowing that I would certainly catch them off guard. But then I thought about how Samantha was intensifying the situation and wondered whether joining them might help me understand what she had planned. So I let them shove me into my vehicle, sit on each side of me, and drive me home. As we came inside, Samantha told them to put me in a chair and make sure I remained. "We're not getting divorced, Nathan," she said. At that point, I began to get up, but one of the guys shoved me down. "Sit down, or else," he grumbled. Samantha turned to me, her face serious. "We're staying married, but there will be some adjustments in how we live. I'm sorry you found out about my problem, but since you know, you'll have to deal with it. I adore you, Nathan. I won't let you go. What's your condition?" "I'm a nymphomaniac," she said. "You released it when we got acquainted in high school. I need more than one person can provide." "Nonsense," I answered. "There are treatments for that sort of thing." "Yes, but they all make me feel terrible. Besides, I like who I am," she said with a chuckle. "Samantha, you could have simply told me. Instead, you have fooled me for years. You had alternatives. And now I have one. I'm going to walk away." I rose up and moved toward the door, knowing that this was the last line I needed to draw. As I approached the door, Samantha cried, "Stop him!" The two guys rushed at me, but this time I was prepared. I whirled around and swung my briefcase at the first guy's face. He lurched backward, grasping his nose. Before the other man could react, I smashed my knee into his gut, followed by an elbow to his chin, which sent him falling backward. They were both down and moaning. "Samantha, it is over. You're not getting away with this," I murmured, inhaling deeply. But before I could take another step, I heard a cool, quiet voice behind me. "Don't move, Nathan, or I'll shoot." I slowly turned to see Samantha holding a tiny pistol aimed squarely at me. "Go ahead, Samantha. Shoot me. Just know that every word you've uttered, every threat, and every lie has been recorded." Her eyes widened, but she did not drop her rifle. "What are you talking about?" "I had private investigators bug the house before I filed for divorce," I claimed in an attempt to throw her off. "Everything, the ambush, the threats, and now you're pointing a pistol at me, has been recorded. You're going to prison, Samantha. You and everybody who assisted you." She hesitated, her fingers trembling slightly. "You're lying. Test me. Just know that if you pull the trigger, I have people who will give the tapes directly to the police." I took a step nearer her, seeing her expression alternate between fury and despair. "Samantha, this must stop. You lost. I am filing for divorce, and there is nothing you can do to stop it." She dropped her rifle, but her look was nasty. "You'll regret this, Nathan. You're going to regret every single decision you've made." At that point, I took out my phone and dialed 911. She was stunned when I calmly said, "Yes, this is Nathan Daniels. I am at 2206 Maple Street, and my soon-to-be ex-wife is holding me at gunpoint. Please send assistance ASAP." Samantha took a step back, terror flashing across her face. "What are you doing, Nathan?" "What I should have done a long time ago," I replied, stepping away from her while leaving the connection open. She seemed paralyzed, uncertain of her next step. Within minutes, I heard sirens arriving, and relief swept over me. As the cops approached, I raised my hands to signify that I was unarmed. Officers entered the residence, and after a lengthy standoff, Samantha was disarmed and handcuffed. As they brought her out, she scowled at me, her voice full of rage and despair. "Do you think this is over, Nathan? It is not. You're going to regret this." One of the cops collected my testimony, and as I described the events, I realized how far Samantha had strayed from the lady I once loved. She was hauled away, and as I saw the police vehicle go down the street, I felt strangely relieved. Finally, it was finally done. The following day, I contacted Doug and explained what had transpired. He informed me that given Samantha's behavior and the police report, we'd have a good case to conclude the divorce without any more issues. I also obtained a restraining order, ensuring that she would have to maintain her distance if she was ever freed. Days stretched into weeks, and I started rebuilding my life piece by piece. The divorce proceeded well, and I was able to maintain the majority of my assets. Samantha was charged with various offenses including wrongful detention, assault, and giving false statements to police. After the dust cleared, I returned to Oscar's Tavern, where I had gone after work to clear my thoughts. I took a seat at the bar, ordered my usual, and let the familiar surroundings help me relax. A few minutes later, I received a touch on the shoulder. "Do you mind if I join you?" It was Amber, and her grin was warm and genuine. "Of course," I said, feeling relieved at the sight of her. We spoke, joked, and I felt more like myself than I had in a long time. As we completed our drinks, Amber turned to me and said, "I know you've gone through a lot, Nathan, but if you're up for it, maybe we can see where this goes. There are no expectations, simply two individuals enjoying each other's company." I glanced at her, happy for the possibility of a new beginning. "I'd like that, Amber. I'd like that a lot." And with that, I walked out of the pub with her by my side, feeling the weight of the past lift off my shoulders as I anticipated what the future may bring. Over the following several weeks, life gradually began to calm. My evenings grew peaceful, my thoughts more relaxed, and I eventually felt like my old self again. I spent more time at work, renewing connections and making objectives for the future. However, the highlight of those weeks was spending time with Amber. At first, we kept things casual, meeting a couple times a week for a drink or a stroll. She was a breath of new air, full of enthusiasm and joy. We didn't hurry anything, we both understood I needed time to recover, and she appreciated that. She never forced me to discuss Samantha or what I'd gone through until I brought it up. Instead, Mom concentrated on making new experiences with me, and I gradually began to smile more and think less about the past. One evening, Amber asked me over for supper. I had brought a bottle of wine, and while we cooked together, I felt a feeling of calm and warmth that I had not had in years. After supper, we sat on the sofa and spoke about our childhoods, dreams, and things we like. When she held my hand, I felt it comfortable since she actually knew me. "You know," she added quietly, "you're stronger than you realize, Nathan. You passed through hell and came out the other side. I know it doesn't always feel like it, but you did." I glanced at her, taking in the sincerity in her eyes, and for the first time in a long time, I felt the weight of my self-doubt lift. "Thank you, Amber. I doubt I could have gotten through this without you." As the months went, Amber became a constant presence in my life. We started spending more time together, going on weekend trips, and I ultimately introduced her to my family. My parents embraced her with wide arms, relieved to see me happy again, and my mother, who had taken Samantha's betrayal hard, seemed to find peace. One Sunday morning, while Amber and I sat on my patio sipping coffee, I gazed out over the city, filled with appreciation I hadn't felt in a long time. I realized I'd discovered someone who understood my history and supported the future I was creating. Over the following year, I worked hard, received a promotion, and even purchased a new home. Amber was with me every step of the way, encouraging, cheering me on, and reminding me to let go of the weight of the past. She was my collaborator, friend, and, eventually, my love. On the anniversary of our first date, I went her to the same pub where we had met. As the evening came to a close, I went into my pocket and pulled out a little box. Her eyes widened as I opened it, revealing a ring. "Amber, you've seen me through the worst and helped me discover my best. I cannot picture my life without you. Will you marry me?" She nodded with tears in her eyes. "Yes, Nathan, 1,000 times yes." The months that followed were filled with preparation, laughing, and family reunions, and when we finally stood together, exchanging vows in a tiny ceremony, I realized my life had taken an unexpected turn. Amber had taught me that love, trust, and happiness were not only attainable, but also worth fighting for. In the years that followed, we established a life together based on love, support, and trust. The ghosts of my past no longer plagued me, and I found serenity in the present, knowing that with Amber at my side, I had all I needed. Samantha was a chapter in my life that taught me perseverance and courage. But now I was on a new adventure, and as I glanced across at my wife and our life together, I realized I had finally found my place. Thank you for watching. Would you have handled situations like Nathan? Comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for future tales.